really doesn't see the benefit of some white vanilla bitch boy with separation anxiety trying to be her boyfriend, you know? What's up, book nerds? I'm Lucky's Universe, and in this week's video, we are launching right into the sequel of Rewriting Books I Hate, ACOTAR Edition. If you haven't already watched part 1 of this series, I highly recommend you do so because nearly everyone is dead or gay or both. So like, it just might make a bit more sense if you've seen part 1. Like I said in the first video, I am not saying that ACOTAR is objectively bad. I'm just saying that I personally do not like it. Maybe because I'm a millennial, like I feel like it's a real Gen Z thing to be into the hardcore enemies to lovers, textual pornography, and fairies. I feel like fairies is a very Gen Z thing. In any case, this retelling is based purely off things that I like to read or what I like to see in books, just what I would have liked to have read when I opened A Court of Thorns and Roses. All right, let's get into it. Where we last left off, Tamlin had just taken Elaine and Feyre to Prythian, and they are settling into their new life at court. Now, Tamlin and his people are under a curse where they have masks stuck onto their faces, and if Tamlin can't get someone who killed a fairy out of hate to fall in love with him, then the masks are going to stay on forever, and his people will become the slaves of the evil fairy who cursed them in the first place. Feyre doesn't know any of this, by the way, so when Tamlin starts trying to woo her, she's a little off-put. In the original story, I feel like this is where the plot of ACOTAR really drags its feet, because it's kind of just Feyre wandering around the castle, exchanging meaningless dialogue with Tamlin and Lucian, and just not really doing anything. And I guess that's maybe why I don't like pure romance books, because I like books that have more action and adventure, especially in YA, which tends to be like quite a fast-paced, exciting genre. So we need to introduce more action, more drive into this part of the story. So as per the original story, Tamlin notices that Feyre lacks the ability to read, and so he offers to teach her how to read, but in my version, Feyre very quickly says, no the fuck thank you to that. Because even though agreeing to live with Tamlin for the rest of her life repays the debt she owes him for killing his fairy friend, Feyre still harbors a secret fear of fairies and is by no means happy about this whole arrangement. Elaine, forever the optimist, is trying to get Feyre to see the bright side, like, hello, we're in a magical castle with 2 hot dudes, one of who is trying to get into your pants. But in my version of this story, Feyre is cold-hearted, she is cut off from her feelings, so she just really doesn't see the benefit of some white vanilla bitch boy with separation anxiety trying to be her boyfriend, you know? Feyre makes a decision. Tamlin's the one who's in charge of her debt, so surely he has the ability to clear the board and send her and her sister home. So if he chose to bring them to Prythian, Feyre is gonna make damn sure that Tamlin regrets it. Feyre starts displaying what I can only describe as supreme cat behavior. She puts on the most expensive gowns that Tamlin's given her and just prances around the castle fucking shit up. Like accidentally breaking priceless ornaments, pulling books off shelves, just making a mess everywhere she goes. When she has dinner with Tamlin, she drops things on the floor, she spills wine everywhere, and Tamlin is tolerating this, but you can tell deep down he just wants to strangle her. And didn't we all at some point? And Elaine just lives in a constant state of face palming because her sister's being such a bitch. Now, this is where I think it might get a little tricky. So as far as readers are concerned in this new retelling, Feyre just wants to annoy Tamlin or frustrate him to the point where he just sends her and Elaine home. However, in this story, Feyre is deeply afraid of fairies, so deep down she just can't trust Tamlin's intentions and can't accept his word that he'll look after her and her sister. So hidden within like small innuendos in the plot and little bits in the writing, Feyre is actually planning to kill Tamlin. She's planning to kill Tamlin and escape Prythian with her sister, but this will only become crystal clear at the time of the attempt, but you'll be able to look back on it and see all the little clues and then be like, oh, she was gonna kill a bitch. Whilst Feyre is off plotting assassinations. We need to do something with Elaine, right? Because the entire reason that I decided to keep Elaine instead of Nestor or any other member of Feyre's family, and to also bring Elaine to Prythian instead of leaving her in the mortal realm like the original story, was because I wanted to give her more substance and bring more to her character than she had in the original story. According to the original plot of ACOTAR, while Feyre is at the castle with Tamlin, she overhears and discovers little bits and pieces about the reason that everyone in the Spring Court wears masks. When she asks about it, Tamlin and Lucian seem to clam up. Then other weird shit starts happening, like fairies appearing with like their wings torn off, and everyone keeps mentioning this mysterious her. And so all of these questions keep building up, and that prompts Feyre to capture a fairy called the Suriel, which can only tell the truth. But in my version of the story, Feyre is far too busy thinking stabby thoughts to really care about the reason why everyone is in a perpetual state of fancy dress. So Elaine is gonna be the one who picks up on all these little bits and pieces and decides to find the truth. In order for this to be done well, I would have to introduce a separate point of view for Elaine, which I think is achievable if I could give her enough of a character. So Elaine goes into the woods, she captures the Suriel, and forces him to tell her what's really going on. In the original plot, the Suriel talks about this mysterious illness called the Blight, or the Plight, but I'm canning that plot point because it kind of sucks and it doesn't really have anything to do with the main story. So in my version of the story, the Suriel tells Elena that the her everyone is talking about is the self-proclaimed Queen of Prythian, Amarantha. And she's the one who has put a curse on Tamlin's people. One of the Suriel's most important lines in this book is "stick with the High Lord" or "stay with the High Lord." Something about staying with the High Lord. In all honesty, this entire series has been like suppressed by my memory. But what the Suriel is going to say instead is kill the High Lord. Then the Suriel attacks Elaine and she is rescued by Lucian! Remember, in this version, Lucian is gay and Elaine is a lesbian, and I plan for them to have a wonderful friendship instead of forcing them into a romance because someone forgot to give either of them a real role in the story. Lucian's all like, "What the fuck, flower lady? Why are you out in the woods with a dangerous fairy?" And Elaine's like, "Who's Amarantha?" And Lucian's like, "Oh shit, you know." And he tries to do a whole like, "It's better if you don't know the whole story." But he lets it slide that Tamlin needs Feyre to fall in love with him. Elaine's like, "But why would anyone want my sister to fall in love with them? Like, have you met her? She makes cacti look cuddly." And then she also senses that Lucian's a little touchy around the whole subject of Tamlin getting a girlfriend, and she realizes that Lucian is still in love with Tamlin. In my version, Lucian and Tamlin were actually ex-lovers, like friends with benefits who naturally grew apart and just mutually ended their relationship. But although Tamlin seems to have romantically moved on from Lucian, Lucian is still Tamlin's #1 simp. Still, he doesn't want to tell Tamlin about his feelings because he doesn't want to complicate things, and also he doesn't want to hinder Tamlin's chance to break the curse. Elaine feels a little bit sorry for Lucian, but also she's like, "But hang on, didn't you say that Tamlin needs someone who killed a fairy out of hate to fall in love with him?" But that doesn't make sense because Feyre is terrified of fairies. She doesn't hate them, she's scared of them. And Lucian's just like, "Are you telling me that Tamlin's been trying to hook up with Feyre for no fucking reason?" I mean, literally the entire plot of ACOTAR, but anyway. The two of them don't really know what to do with this information. Lucian tells Elaine he'll deal with it, that she should just keep quiet, he'll figure something out. They share a little back and forth banter, and then they part ways. Okay, so in the meantime, Feyre's chilling around and painting. Remember when I said that I was keeping Feyre's painting talent in the book because I thought I could make it mean something? Well, I'm trying to play it alongside her lack of reading skills. Because it would be my plan for the book and the series that Feyre just never learn how to read. Because I just don't feel like she needs to. Although she can't interpret words, she can communicate through art. She doesn't need letters, she's got pretty colors. Anyway, so Feyre is chilling, painting. Tamlin approaches her yet again and offers to teach her how to read. And again, Feyre is like, "Can you not? Like, can you leave? Can you fucking leave?" Which is literally what everyone always wanted to say to Tamlin. And then I would have her make like this little speech, this little monologue about how Tamlin keeps trying to like mold her or make her into a proper lady, and she just doesn't want to change. She explains to him, or tries to explain to him, that people don't always want what they've never had. and you can't just throw things at people to make them like you. Tamlin gets kind of pissed off that she's like arguing with him, and he says some pretty hurtful things, but all the while they're fighting, Feyre is holding a sharpened paintbrush behind her back, which she has been steadily sharpening over time to mold it into a weapon to kill Tamlin. Boom! Fight scene. Like an actual fight scene with broken bones, blood, everything. Both Tamlin and Feyre get pretty messed up. But just as Feyre slams the paintbrush into Tamlin's neck, the sky outside darkens. Lucian rushes in and just briefly touches on the fact that his ex-lover's face has been rearranged into a Picasso painting, and then he goes to help him. Feyre asks, "What's going on?" And then Elaine runs in saying, "We have a visitor." Tamlin's like, "Who?" And then Lucian replies, "Her." And that's where we'll leave it. Let me know what you think so far of this retelling. Leave a like if you liked it, leave a dislike if you didn't like it. Drop a comment below if you have any ideas for your own versions, and keep an eye out for part 3. If you don't already follow me on TikTok, go check that out. I post some pretty cool stuff on there, and I will also leave a link to my Goodreads account below. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you later.